It's so good to be with you guys and to have a chance to just spend some time together. We're in, man, let's just be honest. Like, I don't know. I don't care. This is cold. Like, if you're not cold, kudos, man. You're awesome. You're tougher than I am. I give you all the rewards. I guess you win. Because today I'm layered up. I'm wearing gloves. I am not fooling around. Like, this is crazy. Is it not? This is nuts. Yesterday, I'm throwing my mom under the bus. She sent me a text, said, Danny, look at this. The feels like temperature down where they're living is 22 degrees. I didn't respond other than just a screenshot of our predicted weather. But, it just speaks to, I think we just have a tendency, I thought about it afterwards, and, we have a tendency to always define things by our reality. And so then what ends up happening is we run into people who have a different perception or a different viewpoint or a different perspective. And so yes, there's something that we can learn from them. There's something that we can grasp from them. But just reading yesterday in 1 John and it talking about our love for our brother as a reflection of understanding the love of God in our life. And so how do we love people well? And the way that I think about loving people well is I have to do something for them. But in reality, like, my relationship with God isn't one that's just based on doing. It's based on God being defined as God is love, and in turn, me being defined as the beloved, the object of his affection, the one that he pours out his love on. And how am I called to respond? Well, I'm called to love God and love people. And so with that, it's actually not about my perspective, and it's not about somebody else's perspective. It's about God's perspective. How does God see us? And that reorients and reshapes everything, because God sees everyone as created in his image. God sees every circumstance, both pleasure and pain, as opportunities to glorify him, to know him, to press deeper into him, to be pruned and to produce fruit. And so in that, I just want to begin to embody what the word tells me, what Paul exhorts the Galatians, that those of you who are spiritual restore in a spirit of gentleness. That he tells the Colossians in Colossians 4, pray for me so I know how I might answer everyone with grace and kindness. That he thinks about what it means to encourage one another, to love one another, to speak well of one another. That he exhorts the Thessalonians to pray for their leaders that they may live a quiet, peaceful life. And I think one of the ways I do that is I need to not pick my battles, but actually see what is a battle and what's not. And I have a proneness or a tendency towards making mountains out of molehills. And so I'm asking God today to reorient me, help me to see things from his perspective, to help me fix my eyes on Christ, to find refuge in him, and in turn that I may be a person of peace. And so I'm praying that for me. I'm praying that for you. Little update, if you check out Facebook, the Myers family posted an update of their daughter. She had surgery last night and appears she's recovering well. She had 2 plates put in her pelvis, broken pelvis. And so we want to continue to pray for her. We want to continue to pray for those of you that have maybe some battles with seasonal depression. That's a real thing. And so no shame in that of going, man, I'm just down and I'm blue and I'm melancholy. Maybe some of you are just going, ugh. Valentine's Day coming up, and it's a reminder of a painful divorce, or it's a reminder of a relationship that you wish you had that you don't have, or maybe it's the first Valentine's Day without that significant other. And so I want to pray for you in the midst of that as well. And then I want to pray honestly just for us to be warm. I know that sounds crazy, but it's at times like this that we realize what are our most basic fundamental physical needs. And so God, we thank you. We thank you that in the midst of all that's going on outside and inside of us, that we can pray to you and that we know that you know us. And so, God, I want to pray for those with angst, those with hurt, those with pain. I want to pray for those that are in the midst of celebration and joy and excitement. God, you are all things to all people at all times. And so, God, we know that you're present with each one of us, that you're nearer than we can imagine. And so I pray that you would awaken us, that you'd help us to see you in little and small ways, that even today as the cold air makes my breath be visible, that I would think about the breath that you've breathed into me. That I would think about a relationship with your son Christ as the breath of life, that I would think about what it means to walk in unison with you, breathing the air that you have breathed. I want to pray for Paige, God, just a continued healing for her, God. Father, I pray that this would be a story that we don't know the ending of, but we know that you work out all things for the good of those who love you and are called according to your purpose. And God, I pray that we would cling to that truth in the midst of pain. And so, God, thank you for a church that rallies around one another. God, I pray that you help us to be gentle, to be kind, to be people of peace. Father, I can't wait to gather together this weekend. I pray that you give us the environmental circumstances for that to be able to take place, God. For us to sit and gather underneath your word sung, your word spoken, and that your word would be implanted in our hearts. We love you, and it's in your son's name that I pray. Amen. Love you guys. Praying for you. Pray for me.